This is the Mazda Lantis or Astina or 323, depending on what country you're in. Japan, Europe, I think in some parts of like maybe Australia or NZ, forget exactly where. But this is what this it. This had two versions. It had the regular version with the 1.8 liter, and then it had the Type R version that had a 2-liter V6, one of the smallest V6s ever, that made 170 horsepower and 135 pounds of torque and weighed between 2,500 pounds to 2,700 pounds. Pretty good numbers for weight, especially the Type R version, which was lighter. You've never heard of this Mazda. If you've heard of this Mazda, then let me know. This is one of the rare Mazdas that exist in this world. They were 4-door, or you could say 5-door hatches. They had like a little wing in the back that was like a Cosworth. Reminds you of like a Ford Cosworth. That reminds you of like a Ford Escort. That reminds you of like a Ford Escort Cosworth. It was front-wheel drive. It had manual gearbox, 5-speed. And this was one of the rarest things this was one of the cars that was using the smaller V6s like how Mitsubishi was in the 90s. And they were going at Honda. They knew that Honda had the Type R and they said, you know, we're going to make a 5-door that is going to compete to some level with SIs and Type Rs. This is a very rare Mazda. You're probably not going to see it ever if you're in America. You might possibly, I don't know for sure. But this was the coolest time period when Mazda and even Mitsubishi, we talked about this before, when they were like trying different things and not being so like, okay, every car that I have has to look exactly the same. I mean, you could argue that this sort of kind of looks like a MX-6 a little bit, or like an MX-3, or maybe to some extent like a Miata. Like you could tell it's Mazda, like you could tell, but it was still different to where it was like, oh my God, this sedan sports car actually looks different from all the rest of the Mazdas. Like maybe not 100% different, but somewhat different. And it goes to show you that at one point, Mazda, Mitsubishi, all these other companies that in a way sort of kind of like gotten away from those type of sedan vehicles, that people yearn for those vehicles. Now, I don't know how they sold back then, so I can't say 100%, and I don't know why they didn't ever think to bring it to some markets. But I think that if Mazda made a sedan, obviously you're going to refer back to the Mazda 6 or maybe the Mazda 3 Speed, which I'm going to make a video about, that people would buy them. But I think if Mazda makes something unique and sporty like this, I think that they could take a chunk out of the market.